Welcome back. I'm so excited because today we're going to read the brand new book by the Fan brothers, Eric and Terry Fan, joined again by their younger brother Devin. Let's read. Barnaby Unboxed, written and illustrated by Terry, Eric, and Devin Fan. Eric, Terry, and Devin have one older brother and two younger sisters. They all are artistic. Their dad was a philosophy teacher and poet. Their mom, a professional musician. She played the harp. The Fan family moved around quite a bit when they were young, so all the kids were born in different states in America. But eventually, they landed in Toronto. Barnaby lived inside a box. He was half mouse and half elephant, with just a dash of flamingo. He had lived in the box for as long as he could remember. The box sat on a shelf inside Perfect Pets on a perfectly ordinary street. Recently, some rather extraordinary events had occurred there, but things were starting to get back to normal. Barnaby liked to think he was the most perfect of all the perfect pets. He had a puffy tail, his eyes were big and beautiful, and his fur was as soft as cotton candy. And yet, he remained on the shelf unsold. "You'll find a perfect family too one day," said Little Cheep. "We all will," her sister cheeped in agreement. "I'm fully trained," said Barnaby. It was what he always said to himself when he was feeling a little nervous. Mostly he worried because there were so many new and exciting perfect pets to choose from. Barnaby was still the most perfect, though, wasn't he? One day, as he was thinking this, a little voice floated up to his shelf. "Look! They have a Barnaby! Can we take him home, please?" "Are you sure?" asked a bigger voice. The little voice was sure. The owner of the little voice was a little girl. She waited until she was home to unbox her new pet, so her father could record the special moment. "I love you, Barnaby," she said. The little girl dressed him up in funny costumes. She taught him marvelous tricks to entertain the rest of the family. But Topsy-Twirly was a trick Barnaby invented all by himself. He would perform it only for the little girl, and only when he was feeling especially happy, which was most days. It was all the little moments together that Barnaby loved. Helping the girl with her chores, lying on the grass, looking at the clouds, wondering how far the sky went and if it ever ended. Barnaby's favorite time was story time, when the house was quiet and the little girl's voice would slowly lull him to sleep. On Saturday mornings, they would wake up early to watch Barnaby's adventures on TV, and they always sang along when his theme song played. Barnaby and Friends. "Who is here to save the day? Barnaby, Barnaby, Barnaby!" On their walks together, Barnaby enjoyed the odd, envious looks from the crowds. They had probably never seen a big TV star before. The only nuisance was the paparazzi that followed him everywhere in the park. Barnaby had learned never to make eye contact or slow his steps. Other than that, life was perfect. Then one Saturday, everything changed. New Rainbow Barnaby! "Rainbow Barnaby!" yelled the children with delight. "Rainbow Barnaby! Rainbow Barnaby!" The next day, the little girl asked her father if she could have a Rainbow Barnaby. "You already have a Barnaby," said her father. "But he doesn't have stripes," said the little girl. The answer was no. Barnaby felt a wave of relief wash over him. But after that, the girl no longer played with him quite as often as she used to, or dressed him in funny costumes. And instead of proper meal times, the little girl would sometimes just fill up Barnaby's bowl with a week's worth of food so he could help himself when he wanted. He no longer performed topsy-turvy. On Saturdays, it was the girl's father who took Barnaby on walks now, while the little girl watched Rainbow Barnaby on TV. The father wasn't as attentive as the little girl. Barnaby hadn't planned to run away forever, just long enough for people to miss him. But sometimes plans don't turn out quite the way you expect them to. The big orange beast chased him for many blocks. At last, Barnaby found a hiding spot. The beast sat outside all day and most of the night, its eye shining like a yellow moon. Barnaby was damp, cold, and hungry. When Barnaby finally emerged from his hiding spot, he looked everywhere, up the street, down the street, but he couldn't remember the way home. Night came, and Barnaby found himself in front of Perfect Pets. He certainly didn't think he was perfect anymore. He looked up at the window display and felt old and forgotten. Behind Perfect Pets sat a dumpster bin. Barnaby heard some chirps and squeaks coming from it, and when he shimmied up to the top and looked in, he was surprised to see a dozen eyeballs blinking back at him. "Barnaby," said a bedraggled squirt. "You're all lost pets," said Barnaby, "just like me." "Lost or forgotten," said a dusty Rocky. Barnaby nibbled on a dried apple peel and felt a little better. "I'm trying to find my way home," he said. "Do any of you want to join me?" "I can't leave my bucket," said Bubbaloo. "But it's not so bad. They're always dumping new bubbles in here." "Tomorrow is Day Old Donut Day," squeaked Rocky. "We can't miss that," cheeped Big Cheep. Barnaby slept in the bin with his new friends, dreaming of doughnuts and home. In the morning, he woke to a happy cheer. "Day, old donut day!" "Maybe I should stay here with my friends," thought Barnaby. "Life isn't so bad here after all." But it wasn't home, and there was no little girl. He took a piece of doughnut with him for the road. "Good luck, Barnaby," said Bubbaloo. "We hope you find what you're looking for," said Rocky, between mouthfuls of maple-glazed doughnut. The day brought new dangers. Speeding cars, huge feet, and something completely unexpected. Barnaby stopped. It was almost like looking in a mirror, except Rainbow Barnaby's fur had shimmering stripes of tangerine and teal. "You'd look better with stripes like mine," said Rainbow Barnaby. "I like my fur the way it is," huffed Barnaby, although he wasn't even sure anymore. "Suit yourself," said Rainbow Barnaby as he strolled away. "It looks pretty dull and gray, though." The nerve of this Rainbow Barnaby! But it was true. By this time, Barnaby's beautiful pink fur was completely covered in dust and grime. Would the little girl even recognize him if he managed to find his way home? He wandered all day until he reached the edge of the city. The moon was high. The park was very quiet. Only the leaves whispered their secrets to the night air. Barnaby had a sinking feeling no one was looking for him. Just then, the paparazzi appeared from behind a tree. For the first time, he was happy to see them. "Why are you crying?" they asked. Barnaby told about life with the little girl he had left behind and his days on the street. Somehow, these two had never even heard of Barnaby. They had never watched his adventures on TV or sung his famous theme song. To his surprise, they helped him anyway. "Follow us," said the squirrels. They showed Barnaby the best trees to climb and where to find the sweetest acorns. Soon he was able to scamper with ease over the branches and hide among the trees just like the other squirrels. The days grew shorter. The leaves changed colors. Barnaby spoke the language of the branches and the trees now, the chitter-chatter of his little squirrel friends. Barnaby was no longer famous, but that didn't matter anymore. He had his friends, his favorite sitting spot, fresh air, and moonlight. Yet often at night, when he was alone, Barnaby would think about the little girl. Over time, his memory faded until he could hardly recall her voice or what she looked like. Months passed, and soon soft snow covered the park. Barnaby stayed with the squirrels all winter, warm in their nest of leaves, safe from the winter storms. By the time spring arrived, all the acorns were gone, and Barnaby's stomach was grumbling. He ventured out with the squirrels into the cool, fresh air, hoping to be thrown some crumbs in the park. And that's when he saw her. Lost Barnaby. If found, please call 555-289-1721. Barnaby, said the little girl uncertainly when she saw the small creature in front of her. He looked nothing like the Barnaby she remembered. She reached out her hand, but Barnaby stepped back. The truth was, he could hardly remember his former life. Now Barnaby's days were filled with trees and acorns, sunrises and storms, quiet, starry nights. "I've been looking for you everywhere," said the little girl. "Is it really you?" She held out a peanut, but Barnaby stood his ground. "Topsy-twirly?" said the little girl. And with those two simple words, Barnaby remembered everything. Hot baths and soft beds, funny costumes and long walks, cloud watching and story time, and a little girl who loved him. The first thing Barnaby did when he got home was take a hot bath with his new friends, who the little girl had rescued from the dumpster. This was followed by a relaxing spa treatment. From that day on, the little girl fed Barnaby cheese and peanuts for dinner and cotton candy for dessert. She dressed him up in funny costumes. And on sunny days, when the weather was warm, they always went for walks in the park. The end. One interesting fact I learned about Eric, Terry, and Devin is that each of them says they felt like outsiders and misfits in high school. Devin relates that he went through years of being so closed in he could barely speak outside the house. Eric was bullied and didn't really feel like he fit in anywhere until he went to art college, where he realized for the first time there were other people like himself, where it didn't matter if you were good at football or part of the popular crowd. And like Eric, college was the first place Terry also felt accepted for who he was. I think he also went to art college, surrounded by other misfits and creative types. He discovered his differences became an asset. And if you think Eric and Terry just graduated from art school and became instant successes, you would be really wrong. They tried all kinds of things after college. They pitched screenplay ideas. They worked in construction. Eric designed t-shirts. It took them a long time to figure out how to make a success of being an independent, self-employed artist. You know, what I see in them is grit and determination, not giving up. Every day is God's gift to us. Every day is an opportunity to discover and work towards being the person that God knows we can be. See you next week.